here every Saturday from 1 to 2 o'clock. People have been meeting here and protesting here for 16 years. 16 years going back to the Iraq sanctions that led into the Iraq invasion that now have brought us to at least Gulf War III, if not Gulf War IV, in Iraq and Syria. And I just want to say here, if Martin Luther King were here, he would be against these wars. As a matter of fact, he would be against just about every military intervention this country has made for the last almost, 48 years now, almost, since he was killed? I was in the Army when he was killed. I was in the U.S. Army on Okinawa, and I can remember playing pool and listening to the accounts of what was going on in the United States of America in 1968 of March, when Martin Luther King was assassinated. And then coming home just like a week after Robert F. Kennedy was shot as he was campaigning for the presidency in 1968. So those two deaths happened as I was getting out of the Army. And the ferment that was in the U.S. Army at that time was just unbelievable. And the reality is that right now in the U.S. Army, 70% of the troops want these wars to end. They have had enough of repeated deployments. They have had enough time away from their families. They have had enough of the poverty results when they are not there to take care of their families. It is time for these wars to end. They are just stupid. They are only going on because the people who made them are still in power, and they do not want to admit the failure of the wars that they have conducted for the last 13 years. These wars have cost trillions of dollars. If we had spent that money transforming the infrastructure of the United States of America, there would be very few poor people in the United States of America, because everybody who wanted a job would have a job. Instead, that money has been flushed down the toilet to create a drug state in Afghanistan and a completely and totally failed state in Iraq. So we are saying there is no justice without peace. When you have wars going on, there is no justice. There are no human rights in a war zone. Ask ISIS, they'll show you. We created ISIS through this war. We are not going to bomb them out of existence, and we have no allies. We have no allies who are capable of taking them out. There is no basis for U.S. troops in Iraq at this time. We need to get out of there. We are causing the problem. Join with us. We can end this situation. We can redirect the resources of this country to the huge environmental problem that we have, which is more and more looking like an immediate emergency than one that is a slow, long-term one.
People are out in the streets, and people are screaming for justice. And it's not going to stop until the people who have their mouths closed open them up and do the same thing. You don't have to go out and block highways yourself, but you need to express your opinions to others, and you need to express your opinions to the people who hold the power in this country, and you need to tell them that things need to change. You look at the TV, and they lie to you. They say, oh, why are they out there? Oh, why are they out there? They're out there because Michael Brown got killed, because Eric Gardner got killed, and not just because they got killed, because Martin Luther King got killed, because Malcolm X got killed, because Fred Hampton got killed, because Assata Shakur is in Cuba, because the Black Panthers had Asian provocateurs up. They disintegrated their organization because they were threatened by their power. Huey Newton. Because they were organizing, because they were taking their own power, they were taking their own lives into their own hands, and the government didn't want that to happen because that threatens their power. That's why people are out there. The people are out there for the simple reason they want justice, and you need to help them get that. Everybody here needs to scream for justice, and without truth, you don't have justice. If you have the TV lying to you, and you take that, and the radio lying to you, and getting you all in a fervor about things that don't apply to the situation, everything gets messed up, and nobody thinks clearly. Think clearly. Justice. Everybody knows what justice is. Everybody knows right from wrong. Whether it's Jesus, Allah, Yahweh, everybody knows justice. And that's what we need in this country, and we need that in this world. And in order to get it, people need to open their mouths and stop the shopping, stop the everything, all the crap that's secondary. That stuff's great, but you got to stand up for what's important, because things are going down the tubes very, very fast, and they have been for a while. You need to open your eyes and open your mouth.
This is Martin Luther King weekend, and we've been listening to his words, his speech beyond Vietnam, which was his major anti-war statement, and probably the one that finally got him killed. If you haven't seen the movie Selma yet, please do. It's really good. A lot of us know the general outlines of the story, but watching a feature film of the people involved in bringing about the right to vote is really something. I had never known the kinds of ways that people were prevented from voting, black people. Once they had the official right to vote, they would go to register, and the clerk would say, well, recite the preamble of the Constitution. So in the movie, the woman who was signing up to vote was able to do that. And he said, well, how many county judges in the state? And she was able to say how many. And then he said, name them. And she wasn't able to name them. I wonder if there were any of the white people who were registering to vote who could name all the county judges in the state. Anyhow, through persistent activism and being willing to get beaten up and not fighting back and showing love even when they were being persecuted, and then bringing in white supporters, they made the government give them the actual right to vote. It was really inspiring to see. We have a lot of battles to still fight, and we still have to be sure that black lives matter, and that black men mostly, but black people don't get killed by the police at a staggering rate like they're doing these days. But at least they can vote, and it was really exciting to see at the end of the movie they had what happened, and the racist sheriff got voted out as soon as the black people in town were voting, and you saw one white protester who got killed by some Klansmen on the way home from the big march right after King made the speech at the end of their march. But they worked together and they accomplished something. And that's what we're trying to do, to get our government to stop making war all over the planet these days. People can work together and make a change, and that's what we're celebrating this Martin Luther King weekend. We're the Committee for Peace and Human Rights. We're out here every Saturday. Thanks for listening. Woo!